This is Her Truth Revealed, a podcast for women in midlife who are done performing strength and ready to live, lead, and build from truth. If you've spent years holding everything together, being capable, dependable, and quietly exhausted, this space was made for you. I'm Wonderful Morrison, and for the last few years, I've held space for other women's stories. Now I'm opening space for my own. This new chapter is not just about sharing personal stories. It is a love story with myself. And if you're here, it is likely because something in you is ready for that too. Through solo reflections and guided conversations, we explore the quiet transitions, the deep healing, and the remembering that happens when a woman stops performing and starts listening inward. This is not about fixing yourself. You are not broken. It's about returning to who you have always been, beneath the roles, the expectations, and the armor that once kept you safe. If you are longing for language or what you feel permission to soften in a place where your truth does not need to be explained or justified, you are in the right place. Hello, and we are back. We're back. Hello, my friend. Let's continue the conversation.
Okay, that's perfect because I have so much to say, but I'm going to let you do the talking because I'm the one asking the questions. So when we met last time, there was discussion around being the good girl and kind of this imposter syndrome, if you will, of being the good girl. But now I'm thinking about this. And so yesterday I was spiraling. I'm going to be interviewing for a position, and I am now 2.5 years out of corporate. That's not to say that I have not been working since then, but I was spiraling, and it came to my attention that perhaps the underlying reason for my anxiety was because I was coming from a place of shame. And there was a tie to family responsibility. And it was such a revelation and so profound because the more I thought about it, I'm like, oh my God, I go into overdrive. I go into being a perfectionist. I need to do at least 20% better than what I know I'm capable of because it's a means of being seen. And when you put it in terms of performance, like now I'm taking off this mask, right? Because it was a performance, right? It was all about being structured and it's all about sticking to the beats and being on beat. And it was so profound. And so I want to know, does that resonate with you?
Oh my gosh.
Performative?
So much. Actually, today I was just having a conversation about our my nervous system uh being plagued by high performing, right? So, I mean, we have talked about, and there's articles, and there's, what you see on the news of success and drive and ambition is about high performing, high achieving, right? Like getting to the Olympics, the 15 seconds of I've worked 5 years to run this 2-second mile. And we see it on those levels, but I think all of us do it all the time, just different grades of it because of our past, our upbringing, our environments, the things that shaped who we are. And for me, I had a very, very thick performative armor. So you said mask, and I can relate to that, but for me, I liken it more to armor because I feel like I was always living in two worlds, right? I mean, we've talked about this in terms of being raised by immigrant parents, and those two worlds really shaped how this armor was being built to perform at a level that my parents required, and then perform at a level that the world I was living in required,
Mhm.
right? And also because I didn't know for years that I had a learning disability, dyslexia. Didn't know that. I had no clue. So that added an extra level of performance to fit in, to be good, to get along, to be a part of a group of people, right? So 100%. I kind of, when we're talking about imposter syndrome, I get that, but I think I have more resonance with the plague of performative behaviors than I do with the imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Because to me,
Yeah.
I feel like the imposter syndrome is more like, ooh, maybe I'm not feeling that right now, but it's not nearly as haunting as what performance gives me. And here's an example. When I was a kid, my parents, I was probably 8 years old when I had my first karaoke machine. Karaoke, people. And that thing got used. My dad came home with his dual cassette tape
Nice.
karaoke with a mic, and he was like, practice. You need to practice. And I'm like, absolutely. This is so much fun. I didn't realize I was practicing to entertain people who came over at parties. But and here's the duality of this conflict is because it's like I enjoy singing naturally. Performing was like, gee, come on, seriously, right? But I also enjoyed the accolades that I got when I performed,
Absolutely.
right? Clapping, oh my gosh. And then, but I also hated like had to warm up the voice. Like I needed to remember I'm dyslexic. So memorizing a song from print was difficult. So I had to like really, because it was a cassette, I could pause it, rewind, pause it to learn the words and I would write it down. There was this whole process to memorizing the song that started out as fun that became obligatory.
Yeah.
The performance part is like, I know I could do it well, so I
Yeah.
did it, but I
Yeah.
also didn't like to be told how to do it. And
Mhm.
so there's always that conflict. And I think how you do one thing is how you do everything. And then it shows up in
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
areas of my life, right? Being a business owner, I know how I want to run a business, but then there's this standard way to run a business.
Yeah.
And then there's a female version of me that's like, yeah, I wouldn't do it like that, even though it's maybe my comparison is a male ran business. And I'm like,
Mhm.
yeah, that's not how I see it. But then again, there's a standard to, so it's constantly like performance is a way to do two things to feed the thing that we want, but it also is this pain of obligation that I'm like, could do without.
Yeah.
But I don't know how to balance that. Right.
It's interesting because, we did touch up on imposter syndrome in one of the previous episodes. And I think that performative is resonating with me more because imposter feels like this isn't who I am. Right.
Yeah.
But what I'm hearing you say is performative is me, but it's just an elevated version of me. I'm operating at a higher level so I can show you my capabilities. And yes, this feels obligatory, but man, the accolades. Do the
Yeah.
accolades feel incredible, right? The validation that, yeah, you see it in me. Like, I absolutely can do this.
Remember when you were going through your MBA and you called me one day and you were like, I got an A minus.
There's so many times you
And
have talked me off a
you were
ledge.
so distraught about this A minus. And this wasn't like when we were 15. This
No,
was
right?
like,
I was 45, 46 years old.
so there's good to performance, but there's also that piece of it is like, and I remember thinking like, wait, are we talking about an A minus? Not like a D plus, not even a C, not even a B, an A minus, and you would not let that go.
I still can't. You know what I think it is wonderful is that, when you get that first taste of the bravado, when you get that, round of applause for your karaoke performance. I had never been a studious person. When I was in high school and in undergrad, like school is school. I worked my butt off to get to the places that I wanted to be in, like business school as an undergrad. But then after that, I was like, man. And it wasn't until I started working full time and then going to school that I was getting my tech writing certification. And I was turned into that girl who would have, raising her hand like constantly, pick me, pick me. I don't know who I do. I'm like, who is this person? Right. But I guess it had been me all along. But I think it's when you get that first taste of like the accolades, right? And it
Yeah.
does something to you. And I think that is where the like me getting all bent out of shape over the A minus came from. I think it was because I'm like, oh wait, I'm actually capable of this stuff and other people see it. So I think that's where that comes from. So maybe there is an obligatory aspect to it, but I think there's also this kind of this self-imposed, oh wait, this feels good. This feels really good.
Yeah.
Almost like an addiction.
Yeah.
Right?
See, I think this is where when midlife hits us, it actually confronts us in a way where like, wait, hold on. Do I want that or don't I want that?
Yeah.
I feel like so much of our conversations and so much of our exploratory like subjects is surrounded by this like, wait, hold on. I think I want this, but I'm not sure why I want this. And then you hit midlife and you're kind of like, I have no patience for nothing. No, don't think so. And then we're both like, why am I being like that? Like, why am I being and that's where I think the performance piece kind of shows up and goes, okay, why do I not want to be the good girl anymore?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's because it didn't happen when I was in my early 40s. It didn't happen when I was in my 30s. I was doing the whole, what's my purpose? What do I want out of life? Like, what's my dream? Let's go chase my dream. Let's have a vision board. Now I'm kind of in that stage of, I don't know if I need a 5-star review on my personality.
Yeah.
I want to be more in that space of I showed up in my truth and people either liked it or didn't like it, and that's
Yeah.
okay.
I think you've hit the nail on the head when we stop performing for others.
Yes, that's it.
Right?
I think that's it.
Well, I think
That's
that's when
what
we start to
yeah.
like, really, like you said, we're standing in our truth. But I think that's when like we really start to see what purpose means for us,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
That's a really great way you said it is it's not performance per se, it's who we're performing for. And I think in midlife, we are turning the mirror to be like, I'm performing for me. I'm
yeah,
the audience of one and I'm the audience of many. And
yeah,
how much do I really like what I'm seeing? Because I
yeah,
think that is been a lot of my inner language is how much do I like me? Do I want
yeah.
to be in love with me? Like, in our significant other spaces, you were just sharing about your tolerance level with
Yeah.
your significant other. And I don't think it's because of them.
No, no.
It's like, hold on, I've been performing for you and it's great, whatever that looks like. But what if you were me and I have to look at me performing for me? Is that what I like? Right?
Yes, yes,
I think that's what's really going on here is when midlife hits, we're looking at all aspects. You're talking about going on this job interview, and it's so interesting to hear you because when you first got your freedom from corporate,
yeah,
you were in that space of like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? But then life happened.
yeah,
But you're just not the same person before where it was like, okay, I really want this job. I really want to get like all of us, right? Oh my, I really want this client. I'm kind of like, nah, I want to interview the people I'm going to work with.
yeah, yeah,
I don't know. Do I want to make money? Yes. To pay the price of my own happiness and my own relationship with myself, I just am not in that space of compromising that anymore.
yeah. Well, and I'm curious. Because I feel like I'm in this place where I'm so like life is very fleeting, right? And I realize that, time is infinite, right? But in the context of life, it's not. but I'm also in a place where I'm in no rush, right? Meaning, so like I've known for a long time that I want to get my PhD.
Of course.
And there's so many golden nuggets that I learned from my dad. And I always consulted him, on career and education and stuff. He knew for a long time that I wanted to get my MBA. And, he said to me, you absolutely should do that, but you should do it at a time in your life when it makes sense. And I was like, well, what does that mean? And he's like, you're going to know when it makes sense. Right. And so,
Wise words.
right. And he was right. I did. Like that was a whirlwind. It happened so quickly. And I've known ever since I got my MBA, like, okay, yeah, I want to do a PhD. But then it was like, well, what do I want to do my PhD? Right. And I've really been thinking about this. And, it's like, okay, I'm 50 years old. I'm like, what am I going to be doing my PhD when I'm 60 years old? But then it's like, who cares? The reason I want to do my PhD for the research because I want to make an impact. And what does it matter if I'm making that impact when I'm 65 versus like 35? And what matters is the subject that I'm going to study and what it means to me and how I want it to make a difference, even if it's just in my own life, right? The education isn't, I mean, I won't lie, like getting my MBA is something I've always wanted to do, but part of it was also the accolades that we were talking about, right? The applause but now with getting this PhD it isn't about the title. It really is about the work and the journey. And so I am taking my time in figuring out what I want to do, but I think I actually am on the precipice of knowing what it is that I want to do my PhD in. So my point is that like I'm in this weird place where I'm like, oh my God, time is so finite, and you just don't know when it's going to end for you, when it's going to end for the other person. But I'm not feeling like, oh my God, I'm 50 years old. Like, why haven't I done this yet? I don't have that feeling of rushing myself through life.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
I 100%. I feel more at peace with. I remember reading an article when I was, I don't know, early 40s or something. It was Michelle Pfeiffer and she was turning 50 something. And in her article, she said, I just feel so comfortable in my skin. Like, I don't, she actually says no to certain scripts and says yes. Like, she was more intentional about roles that she wanted to play. And I remember reading it going, am I going to get there? Is that going to happen for me? Because like you, I know how to chase things down. I mean, high performance has never been, I've never been afraid of that. And high achieving is that, but to what end and to what cost? I didn't have an answer for that because I didn't really care at the time because I'm like, I just want to accomplish a bunch of stuff.
yeah.
And I don't even know what the stuff is, right? Now it's less of that and more of I'm not sure if I'm saying this correctly or well or in a way that other people can understand, but I am seeking and pursuing more of remembering who I am in the spaces that bring me joy, and that can come in money, business, relationships, homes, cars. Like if
Yeah.
I one day decide I'm going to make so much money that I'm going to buy myself a Bentley with a driver, it's not because I want it to be I'm an influencer.
Yeah.
Right. I'm in the space where I want that because I want it, because
Yeah.
I created it. Where before I would say that based on performance, because look at what I was able to get. Look at what I was able to do with all this hard work. It's less about that now. It's more of like, I just really want to see what a Bentley feels like and see what it is. I'm using that as like a funny example, but really that's how I'm seeing all things now. But also, I want to be really clear, even though you and I kind of make light of the conversation of like, yeah, we're in this whole, I want it when I want it, and I'm going to have it when it's still very difficult because I've designed my way of thinking and living and breathing and behaving in a way that is driven to work, validation, right? So there's all of these little pieces I still have to like take time and take a breath and go, okay, it's okay that it didn't happen today, or that's not the way it's happening. Where my past life would have been like, should have happened yesterday. What's going on? You know what I mean? I think there's this lady that does this little skit out there that's gone really huge about she just it's the We Don't Care Club anymore. She will start her videos with like 8 glasses and she'll be like, I am here putting the world on notice. We don't care. And then she'll be like, today, because today, here's the announcement. And it is like, yeah, that's it. That's really what we're about is we just don't care. And she says one time, she goes, we don't care that our bras don't match. Do you know how many years I lived where I'm like, oh, that shit's got to match?
Yes.
I think that was born out of performance.
Yes. Well, but I want to add though, I think it's okay. I love this. We do not care. Right. But I think it's also, I think you can understand that and abide by that and live by that. And, but also be that person that's like, you know what? I do want my bra and my panties to match. Right. I do, in that regard, I do care, but I I do understand and respect, and I completely agree with the sentiment of we do not care, right? Because I think that goes to like, I've been guilty of this. You know, you look at women on social media and stuff, and or just in general, right? Celebrities, whomever. And there's all this speculation of who's had plastic surgery and like, oh my God,
yeah,
all this judgment out there, right? And again, I used to be one of those people that would judge, but lately I've been like, who cares, right? Like just live and let live. I mean, I'll admit I have lip fillers, right? Like I got lip fillers 6 years, 5, 6 years ago because I've always just my lips were skinny and it wasn't an insecurity. It was just like I love makeup and I was like, if my lips were fuller, my lipstick would look so good. And I do makeup for me, not for anyone else. Oh, and the girlies. I do it for the women too, because us women love to like compliment each other on those things, right? So I
think there's a fine balance. Like we can't just, I think it's too many times women either want one thing or the other thing. You can't have this harmonious space where I'm not trying to look like someone and I'm also not fighting age so hard. I'm down to age the way I do, but there's certain things that I want for me and I need it to not be about the performance that I've always known. I just want it for me.
I just want it for me. Like, and I don't care. I don't care what you think. Go ahead and make fun of me. It doesn't matter. And that's also the place where I'm in now, right? Like looking at other women who have had plastic surgery or if they're choosing to not match their bra to their panties. You know, I'm like, either way, live and let live. Does it mean that's going to be the person that I'm going to be or I strive to be? Not necessarily. But I think what we're trying to get out here is that we're in a place where we respect what people are doing with their lives and who they are. And if they're, you know, trying to figure out, because we're all trying to figure it out. You and I do not have it figured out, but I feel like we're in a place in our lives where it's the we do not care movement is definitely hitting us, but we're figuring it out, you know, and it feels good. It feels freeing. It feels empowering. We were talking earlier offline about just not having that tolerance anymore. And that's not a bad thing.
No, I don't know. It's not. And I think that we also, the other thing I want to really highlight in this conversation of performative is that I think we have to give each other not just grace and not just permission, but sort of like the key to opening the gates to figuring out what's okay and what's not okay and how much we, like you said, like how much of the we do not care and the matching of the bras and I think we also need to look at that from a place of business ownership, you know, what the new corporate world looks like for you, if that's even the thing you want to do, and how to kind of redesign and rephrase what chasing our dreams are like at this age and then this modern time, right? With all the technology advancement and also all of the spiritual conversations that are happening out there. Like there was this, you sent me an interview that I've watched 3 times already from our friend Diary of the CEO. If you're listening, hi, Daniel Hoffman. And he was talking about how he's been a scientist his whole life, but what he communicates now in the age that he's in is the intersection of science and spirituality. And I feel like that's where I'm at. I am in an intersection of the youth I am familiar with and the midlife that I'm walking into. All of it can combine, it can be together. I can want to feel young and also look my age. I can also want to have glass skin and have a sore back from doing nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like we can be all those things. It doesn't just have to be, well, aging gracefully is okay. Aging not gracefully is not okay.
Coexisting, right?
Yes, that's it right there. Coexisting.
You said just a few seconds ago, chasing our dreams. And I actually want to kind of reframe that, because what I've been doing is I've been creating a roadmap for my life plan. Mind you, I know I can't plan out life because things happen, but the things that I want to do, which I before thought, oh, these are dreams. And when I realize now, when I would say those are dreams, I think there was always an element of like, it's not in my reach. It's not in my
Mm.
but now I don't know that anything's really changed about my world, but my mindset has. Now it absolutely, saying it as a roadmap, saying that it's a roadmap, a strategic roadmap, one feels very like familiar to me because of corporate talk, right? I would create roadmaps all the time when I was working, but I realize I'm still, still am doing that. And I'm like creating this strategic roadmap for the things that I want to do in the future. And it feels more attainable that way.
Yeah. And I think that this is why I want to have these conversations, is because that can only come from wisdom. That can only come from lived experience, to recognize that that's where you want to be in now.
Yeah.
I often think like, I've not worked in corporate. I mean, the last job where I had to actually apply for a job was in 1995. Let's just be clear about that. We come from two different worlds, but I completely understand that our lived wisdom looks different, but it's communicating the same words, right? You're saying what you talk about imposter syndrome and what I talk about imposter syndrome sound the same, but they're lived from different experiences. And that's really what this is all about, is saying all of it is okay. All of it can coexist. And we need to give the next generation options of what road they want to take based on shared wisdom, shared experience, because everybody has you have chosen to be a boss in a way where you're over here PhDing, all upset about A minus, and having your love Coco. And I have lived a majority of my life being co-owner and founder with my husband of running a brick and mortar, raising 3 kids, partially losing my mind to home decorating, which I'm not very good at, or home cooking. Oh my gosh. But it's interesting how we have a very similar view when it comes to how we see imposter syndrome, how we see performance, good girl. And I think that's what really it needs to be about, because those are the resonating spaces. Even if we've all come from, even that I'm Filipino, you're Indian, right?
Yeah.
And that all the little quirky things that I think we assume about each other because we don't talk about it with each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ever, right? And then when we start talking, we're like, oh my gosh, me too. Who knew? Right? Yes, same thing. I think that those are the spaces that really have resonance in the world.
Yeah.
The differences we want to fight for.
Yes.
Or fight
Absolutely.
about.
Absolutely. And I think it's important, for as we, get older, just realizing that life it's not binary, right? We talk
Yes.
about this things that can coexist, and they can be contradictory, but they can still coexist. And it's not choosing one over the other, right? I think And that's what I'm
Yes.
saying. Like, I'm just in this place where I'm like, yeah, life is fleeting, but I'm not in a rush. Like, and I'm not like, oh my God, I have to do this right now. Otherwise, it's like, okay, it's okay. I can slow down and I can still want those things.
Yeah.
And they're still going to be within my reach. Now, I may die tomorrow and then that doesn't happen. But I'm also in a place where I'm like, okay, but that's okay because we talk about being at this intersection of spirituality and science, the binary aspect of it, right? But that's where we're at, and that's why I can confidently say it's okay because I'm at right now is exactly where I am supposed to be, and I feel good about it. I may have my days like yesterday where I was spiraling out of control over an initial interview, but it's okay to have those days and still know that I am confident in who I am. So I think it's, having these conversations gives, whether it's young women, whether it's teenagers or even women in their midlife, permission to just like, it's okay to have contradictory things going on in your life or contradictory things going on in your
Yeah.
head for that.
I agree. I agree. I think that that's really what the conversation is about, more than it is about performance. Living in, that space of contradiction is what my forgiveness coach would say. It's actually normal. It's actually the right time in your life to be going through that. But we've never heard it. We've never kind of been given the thumbs up of like, you can think many different thoughts and they can all coexist and you don't have to actually pick the right one right now.
Yeah, exactly. That's key, because what is the right one, right?
Yeah. That's another thing. Oh my gosh. Yeah. That's a whole, it's like picking lipstick for crying out loud.
So many options to choose from.
Then there's the shades because of your shade.
Yes. Oh, the undertones. Yes.
And all of that. It like makeup is like life. I'm just saying.
But girl, it is like life, but also too, like you see all these videos about, okay, you got pick shades based on your undertone. And I'm like, screw the undertone. If I want to wear a bright orange lipstick, I'm going to rock it.
Right?
Undertone. I am going to rock it. So I think that's just how life needs to be approached in general. Screw the undertones. I don't know what the undertones in life would be, but screw the undertones.
So true. That is so true. Okay, I'm going to ask you a question and let's end with this because I think we've been on here for I'm going to ask you a question because I was asked this at the beginning of the year and it was from one of the interviews of our friend Stephen Bartlett. He had a guest on. I can't remember the guy's name, but he asked if there was an audience in the movie theater watching your life play out like a movie, what would they be yelling out at you that is so obvious, but you're not doing?
Yeah. I would say that the thing that they'd be yelling out to me that's so obvious that I'm not doing is to share my writing with the world and to finally be a published author or something. I think that that's what they would be yelling out at me. I think you would be one of those people who would be yelling the loudest.
The audience going, oh my gosh, the chainsaw guy is coming from behind you, not in front of you.
Okay, I want to pose that question to you. I'm curious. Like,
well, when I was asked that question, I remember going like, yeah, it'd be like, let go, surrender. But really now, having kind of experienced a little bit more of 2026, I think that the audience would be yelling out this. I gotta take a moment because there's so many things going through my mind of how I want to answer this. Because when I initially answered it, it was just like, let go already. Quit being, quit hanging on to the old life. Quit hanging on to the old things. But I recognize now that the audience now would be yelling, oh my God, you've already figured it out. Like, why? Why are you still perfecting it, redesigning it, reworking it, testing it, beta testing it some more, getting a focus group together?
Would they be telling you to put your armor down?
Yeah, it would be like if they were watching Einstein already come up with the solution, but still reworking it because the solution needs to get better. Can you imagine? Imagine if the Wright brothers just kept going, no, maybe if the wing was like 2 inches wider and never actually flew anything. That's what I feel like the audience is yelling. Like, you've already figured it out. Why do you keep reworking it?
It's that perfectionism. It goes back to what we've been talking about, is the performative aspect, right? And it's about being okay with 80% or the A minus versus the A.
I really thought this through because I thought, well, no, the audience when my husband first asked me, I was like, oh, they would be telling me to let go and to surrender. And I knew in my gut that that wasn't it. I was just saying it because he needed an answer, right? And now I think I'm like, this could be a whole nother 2-hour conversation, but I actually probably want to be in resistance and disagree with it's not perfectionism, Sonia.
It's the dragon rearing its ugly head. Is that what's going on? It's whether you want to call it the dragon or what, it's perfectionism.
Yeah, because I'm not a perfectionist. It doesn't need to be perfect. It doesn't need to be that. But really, I think it's just that, like doing these interviews, talking to you is so easy. I don't know if my answers would be this free to flow as it is if it was just me talking to myself, because I'd be thinking like, oh, I don't know if I want to let all of that out. I don't know if that, right? But because I feel like I'm really just talking to you, my friend, who we can have 6-hour conversations out of nowhere, it gives it such freedom.
Yeah.
And that's what I think my audience would be saying about my movie. Just do it already. Jeez.
Just be free. Your audience would be yelling at you to just be free.
Yeah, just be free. You got it already.
Yeah. And I think that's part of this message, right? Is like letting others know, like, it's okay to be free. I mean, you're, the beautiful bra with the granny panties. It's okay. It's just,
girl, that's me today. That's me today. I love granny panties. They feel so good.
They totally do.
Favorite.
The audience is like, okay, you don't have to be that free. Oh my gosh. Well, my friend, this as always, has been such a wonderful and eye-opening conversation. And I am looking forward to our next conversation. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being free. I know that myself and the audience really does appreciate this, because this is the only way that we're going to be able to help others, give themselves permission to also be free, is hearing these kind of conversations. So thank you.
Before we go, I want to pose that question to the audience. Like, if your life was being played out at the movie theater, what would your audience be yelling at you that is so obvious, but you don't see it? Think on that and let us know in the comments. Let us know in the messages, because I would be really curious what other people's answers are to that question. You have time to think it through now. Process it.
Yes.
Other than that, thank you so much. Thank you for your love, your time, your energy, and thank you for being my friend, Sonia. And thank you for being my friend, audience. Until next time, see you later. Bye.
As we close this space, thank you for listening with presence. If something in today's episode stirred recognition, a quiet yes, or a feeling you have not had words for before, that is not something to rush past. Let it settle. Her truth revealed is not about becoming someone new. It is about remembering who you are beneath the life you learned how to survive. Wherever you are in your midlife journey, hear this clearly. You are not late. You are not behind, and you are not doing this wrong. You are unfolding exactly as you are meant to. We will keep walking this path together, one truth at a time. Until next time, be gentle with yourself and keep listening for your truth.